The newsroom at dusk smelled of instant coffee and printer ink. Fans whirred overhead, stirring the sticky Mumbai air. Phones buzzed on every desk, yet my attention snagged on a single subject line flickering across my monitor. Committee expense report. Final, final. The double final in the header set off alarm bells. Reporters learn early that documents lie. Only anomalies confess. I leaned closer, tracing the metadata like fingerprints. Something in the routing made no sense. The message had bounced through a private server registered under a beauty products chain. A cover or someone sloppy? Either way, the leak wasn't clean. My pulse quickened. Clue number 1, and it was mine. Across the room, she laughed, loud, reckless. Even after all these months, that laugh tugged at me. Mira, my rival, my once lover, stood with her editors at the competing desk. She thrived on risk, while I built my walls brick by brick. They'd given her the same assignment, the corruption scandal poised to explode by midnight, embargo sealed and guarded. Our stories would drop within seconds of each other, unless one of us scooped the other first. The clock above the copy desk read 8:42 p.m. A thin slice of time. Last sweep in 3, an editor barked, meaning 3 hours until uploads froze. My stomach nodded. We had one night, one shot. Midnight loomed like a guillotine. Mira caught me watching. A flicker passed between us. Recognition, warning, something softer. But she turned back quickly, flipping through a press kit. I remembered the smell of her hair when the city went dark in last year's monsoon, the two of us huddled under a single umbrella. Now we hid behind professional masks, as if history weren't breathing between us. I printed the suspicious email, ink smudging on my fingertips, proof of tampering in hand. Across the partition, Mira was already striding out, badge swinging. She thrived on chasing chaos into the night. I stayed, holding on to paper in silence, trying to not notice how the glow of her screen still made my chest ache. The press conference swelled with the hum of camera shutters and murmured speculation. Chandeliers buzzed with too bright light, trapping heat above the crowd. Mira slipped beside me, too close, and pressed something into my palm. Her badge. "Use it," she whispered, eyes dancing. For 1 second, our fingers brushed. I slid past the rope line, my heart hammering. Inside the restricted corridor, I snapped quick photos of an internal memo pinned to a corkboard. Every action felt like theft. When I slipped back out, Mira was gone. Instead, a courier dropped a battered archive box at my feet, labeled in fading ink. Inside, campaign pamphlets, brittle with age, and one photo, glossy, too deliberate. My breath caught. Mira and I, years ago, caught mid-laugh at a college fundraiser, standing beside the politician's daughter. My pulse spiked. If anyone saw this, they'd say we'd always been compromised. I tucked it back, but the image clung to me. Was this proof or poison? The provenance was hazy. Who had placed it there and why? My editors demanded a clean exclusive, but how could I write without this ghost hanging over me? Later, in the glare of television lights, Mira lifted her hand to the mic. "Minister Desmukh, can you account for your undeclared assets in Dubai?" Her words sliced the air. Camera swung toward him, and toward me, because the question had been mine. She'd stolen it. On air, in front of everyone. My blood burned. I scribbled in my notebook, my handwriting jacket, 10:21 p.m. The minutes were dissolving. The embargo felt less like a deadline, more like a noose. Mira's smile across the room was pure challenge. But beneath it, I saw the same fear I carried. The photo was a time bomb. By the time the newsroom thinned, ceiling lights humming and cleaners dragging mops across linoleum, the city outside had gone quiet. Only Mira and I remained, twin ghosts at rival desks. I pulled the old photo from my folder, slapping it onto her desk. "You knew this existed." My voice was low but sharp. She studied it, then shook her head. "It's bait, don't you see? They want us chasing shadows. But if it leaks..." I stopped. The thought of our private history dragged into headlines made my throat close. On the printer tray lay another document, briefing notes from today's Q&A. Scrawled in pen across the margins was a string of numbers, oddly precise. I held it up. "This isn't yours." She frowned. "I thought it was yours." We bent over the sheet, deciphering. Maybe coordinates or a phone extension. Every option led us toward a source that seemed too convenient. My gut twisted. Another layer, another trap. Yet part of me wanted to believe. The clock blinked 11:04 p.m. Time had slipped again, like sand through fingers. My laptop pinged with upload warnings. The walls closed in. Frustration boiled over. I yanked the small flash drive from my bag, the one I'd hidden because it held only personal files, photos, scraps of notes I didn't want exposed. With a cry, I slammed it against the desk, plastic crack, fragments scattering across tile. Mira gasped. "That was evidence," she shouted. "No," I said, chest heaving. "That was the only thing left of us." My hands shook. The shards glittered under fluorescent light. Broken and final. Mira crouched, gathering the fragments. "Look," she said, voice steadier than mine. Embedded in one splinter of plastic was a file label I hadn't noticed. Ledger_true. My stomach dropped. The thing I'd just destroyed had been the key. Together, we pieced the drive into the port of a battered office PC. The screen blinked, flickered, then opened a spreadsheet so detailed it made me dizzy. Offshore transfers, ministerial accounts, coded initials matching the very man who had tried to throw suspicion onto his rival. The scandal wasn't about the politician. It was the minister all along. I stared at the old photo again. The red herring was clear now. It hadn't been meant to blackmail us, but to stall us, to keep our eyes turned inward while the minister bled the country dry. Its misfiling in the archive wasn't chance. It was camouflage. The newsroom clock glowed 11:57 p.m. The embargo would lock in 3 minutes. Mira opened a blank draft. "Together," she said. My throat tightened. "You know what this costs." She met my eyes. "Everything. And it's worth it." We typed side by side, fingers flying, weaving our strands into one story. At the byline, we paused, then typed both names. Mutual cost sealed in print. The upload bar crawled across the screen, finalizing with the chime at 11:59. The room glowed with monitors, casting shadows that softened the hard edges between us. Without words, her hand found mine under the desk, not triumphant, not certain, but real. Outside, the city still burned with neon. Taxis still honked, deadlines still ruled. But here, in the hum of machines and the scent of ink and ozone, truth and love sat side by side, fragile and undeniable.